Hello, and welcome to another episode of Between the Aisles, a podcast where I, your host, Leo Mora, take on political and social issues that exist within social media, news, and other sources. And today, I want to start our episode by asking, have you ever opened your phone, scrolled for a few minutes on your favorite social media platform, and suddenly you look up at the clock and it's been an hour? You don't even know what you watched, but somehow it felt like your feed knew you. Like it knew exactly what type of topics you actually care about, the type of humor that you like, and even the type of mood that you're in. That's not just some sort of magic or coincidence. It's the algorithm. An algorithm shapes more than what you see. It shapes what you believe in. It shapes what you care about and how you see the world. Today, I'm going to go over what algorithms are, what the attention economy means for your brain, how filter bubbles trap you inside your own views, and how dopamine keeps you scrolling. Let's start with the basics. An algorithm is a set of rules. It's a process that takes inputs and makes decisions. On social media platforms, the algorithm's job is to decide what content to show you first, second, third, and it also decides what content to not show you. It does this by collecting and analyzing data specifically about you. And I don't just mean the type of videos that you put likes on. No, these algorithms are watching at all times. They see what you pause on, where you pause in a video, what you swiped past, how long you stayed to view a video. It also tracks things like what types of videos you're commenting on, whether those comments are negative or positive, and even what time of day you open the app. Then it makes predictions off of all of that data that it's just collected. It says, okay, well, this user watched 3 videos about new movies coming out, and they paused on one video about conspiracy theories. So let's try pushing some content about secret government projects. Let's also keep showing them stuff about new movies relating to conspiracies because that seems to be performing well for this specific user. The algorithms are constantly learning, adjusting, and optimizing to keep you engaged. But here's the twist. The algorithm isn't trying to educate you. No, the algorithm is trying to keep your attention for as long as possible, because attention is what makes these platforms money. That leads us straight into the attention economy. You've probably never heard of this phrase, some of you maybe have. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. In social media, you, or more specifically your attention, is being sold to countless advertisers. This is what's called the attention economy. Every time you scroll, tap, watch, or share, that behavior becomes something companies can monetize. The longer that you're on an app, the more ads they can show you. That's why social media platforms design every part of the experience, from the layout to the notifications to autoplay, are all meant to keep your eyes glued to the screen. Think about this. TikTok doesn't have a pause between videos. As soon as you swipe up or down, boom, the next content plays. Number 2, Instagram removed their chronological timeline to give you the most engaging content first. And lastly, YouTube's recommendations autoplay feature, which plays the next video in a countdown from 3 to 1. Every single second that you stay on these apps is infinitely valuable to these companies. So even though it feels like you're casually scrolling past your feed, there's an entire system behind that hand motion that you do, making decisions based on what gets you to stay. And guess what kind of trends keep people around the longest? Engaging ones. Doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, it just matters if you keep scrolling. Which brings me to filter bubbles. A filter bubble happens when an algorithm shows you more and more of what you already like or agree with, and then it simply filters everything else out. So even if you like a few posts about skincare routines, you might suddenly see nothing but beauty influencers, product reviews, and before and after photos on your feed constantly. Or if you like one video criticizing a political party or a certain celebrity, you'll probably get fed a lot more content supporting that exact same view. The bubble only gets tighter the more that you scroll. Your feed becomes more and more about you. And it sounds really convenient at first, but there's a huge downside to this. Over time, you stop seeing different opinions, you stop being challenged, and you start to believe that your perspective is the only normal one. The worst part about this is that you usually don't even notice that it's happening. But these filter bubbles can have huge ramifications on very important aspects of our everyday lives. It impacts how we vote, how you feel about things like your body and your mental health. It affects things that you believe to be true or false. And it even affects how you treat people with different beliefs. Your feed is like a mirror. It's meant to be a reflection of yourself, but it is not the full picture. And the algorithm decides what exactly is reflected onto you. But now let's talk a little bit more about engagement-based prioritization, which is just a complex way of saying that the more you interact with a post, the more it gets boosted. Engagement includes likes, comments, shares, watch time, and saves. And here's the key to all of this. The algorithm doesn't care why people engage with a certain content. It doesn't care why they like, what they comment, who they share with. It only matters and it only tracks that they did. That means that content that may make people angry, scared, shocked, or stressed often performs so much better than stuff that's thoughtful or neutral. And so misinformation, even when it's false, can go viral if it causes strong enough emotions. And content that simplifies or exaggerates issues often gets prioritized over nuanced, accurate information. In other words, what goes viral isn't always what's the most valuable. And we have to ask ourselves, am I reacting to this because it's helpful or because it got pushed and because it made me feel emotional? And that's where something called dopamine comes in. And it's how social media taps directly into your brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, basically, because it's a chemical in your brain used to signal pleasure or reward. Every time that you get a like or a comment or a surprising new video, you get a little dopamine hit. It makes you feel good. And social media apps are built to maximize those hits. That's why TikTok gives you unpredictable video results. That's why Snapchat streaks keep you checking in daily on the app. And that is why Instagram shows notifications slowly, to keep you refreshing. These are all features of what's called a dopamine-driven design. Your brain gets trained to crave the next ping, the next scroll, the next video. It's not about your willpower, but it's about their design. These platforms are made to be addictive, and if you're not aware of it, you'll end up in endless loops of scrolling without even realizing what you're missing outside of the screen. Now, this all sounds gloomy and dark, but the good news is, once you know how this system works, or now that you know that the system exists, you can start taking control once more. And here's what you can do. Firstly is be mindful of how you engage with different content and ask yourselves, am I reacting or am I actually thinking? Secondly, follow accounts that challenge you. I mentioned this last episode, but it is so important to look at content that not necessarily makes you mad, but ones that offer different, respectful perspectives on different things in everyday life. Thirdly is set some time limits. It doesn't have to be anything severe. It can just be a couple of hours every day. Or just check in on your screen time and ask yourselves, how can I limit this? Or how can I make this time more worth my while? Fourthly, avoid autoplay when you can. You're allowed to choose what you consume. Take control once more of what videos you watch on YouTube or what posts you engage with on Instagram. Lastly, you can take some breaks. Notice how your brain feels after being offline for a while and doing something that is not on a screen. It's not easy at first, but try in little, short periods of time to get away from it all. But the most important thing is to realize that you have a lot more control over what you see than any social media algorithm can have. All you have to do is accept that you have that power and use it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Between the Aisles. If this helped you understand your feed a little better, I encourage you to share this episode. Start a conversation, maybe, because that's how we can break out of these filter bubbles. I encourage everyone to follow this podcast's Instagram page at Between the Aisles Pod. I really want to start involving some of my listeners in the episodes that I make, and this Instagram page is where I'm going to be posting a lot of polls and a lot of opinion-based content so that my listeners can actually engage with me and that I can engage with them back. I really want to include listeners in these episodes because your opinions matter. Follow for more honest breakdowns of how media shapes our minds and how we can escape the negative parts of that manipulation. And as always, I encourage all of you to understand your feed a little better, share this video, start a conversation, because that's ultimately how we can break out of these bubbles. But stay thoughtful, stay curious, and don't let an algorithm do the thinking for you.